Hello and welcome to Time Tunnel, where we find out what was making news in the past. I'm Alicia Davis in New York, and today we travel back to this day in 1972. Howard K. Smith and Harry Reasoner had the news.
Reports tonight from Steve Bell on George Wallace's arrival at the Democratic Convention site, Frank Reynolds on the status of Edmund Muskie's campaign, Bill Zimmerman on the first National Guard security forces arriving in Miami Beach, Jim Giggins on the battle for Quang Tri, Dick Shoemaker on the second hijacking of a Pacific Southwest airliner in 2 days, and tonight's comment on the one political path George Wallace hasn't yet explored. Harry?
Today, Governor George Wallace returned to the campaign, confined to a wheelchair because of his paralyzed legs, but strong of voice and spirit. At Holy Cross Hospital in Silver Spring, Maryland, Wallace said goodbye to his doctors and nurses, then he boarded a plane for Miami Beach. En route, he stopped over in Alabama state capital, Montgomery. ABC's Steve Bell reports.
Ladies and gentlemen, the greatest governor of the greatest state in the United States.
His dramatic return to Montgomery this morning was the moment George Wallace had been pointing toward since he first knew he would survive the attempted assassination 54 days ago. In a trim pinstripe suit, he left the plane in a wheelchair, carried by a Secret Service agent and 2 Alabama patrolmen, including Captain E.C. Dothard, also wounded in the shooting. Security was heavy, but no one really expected trouble in Montgomery, Alabama. Mrs. Wallace and daughters Peggy Sue and Lee had traveled with the governor. Other members of the family were there for the arrival. Just before landing, George Wallace had appeared nervous, even apprehensive about his first big speech, but there was no evidence of that when he began talking.
The great abstract issues in the campaign for the presidency was the remoteness of the government of our country from the average citizen, and the remoteness of the Democratic Party from the average citizen. And so I'm going to insist, while I am in Miami, and insist that they adopt a platform that will tell the average citizen that we are conscious of your needs and we're going to be responsive to your desires.
From Montgomery on, Governor Wallace rode in the passenger seat instead of the hospital bunk, talking and signing autographs for crew members. Every 10 minutes he was reminded by Cornelia Wallace to do 10-second push-ups off the arms of the seat as part of his therapy. But mostly there was talk of politics. Yes, he feels strong enough to do some campaigning. It might even be good for him. No, there is no plan at the moment to go to the convention floor, but he'll play it by ear depending on what is the proper thing to do. The arrival in Miami produced none of the earlier tension. By now, Governor Wallace seemed confident, openly enjoying himself, and thinking about the days of political bargaining that lie ahead.
Back in the fight, and we're here at the National Democratic Convention, and I'm still an active, viable candidate, even though I've been sidelined for a few days. We're back on the trail again.
So George Wallace arrives here, the candidate who forced the Democratic Party to pay attention. And if the McGovern bandwagon should stop short of first ballot nomination, George Wallace could again force attention before this convention is ended. Steve Bell, ABC News, Miami Airport.
A U.S. judge in Baltimore today postponed the federal trial of the man charged with shooting Governor Wallace, 21-year-old Arthur Bremer. The trial, which was due to begin July 17th, was delayed indefinitely because it conflicts with the opening of Bremer's trial by the state of Maryland next Wednesday. At their meeting, the convention officials and the non-delegates' delegates agreed to meet again tomorrow in Convention Hall. The Pentagon announced today that about 2,500 Army and Marine riot control troops will be airlifted to the Miami area this weekend. An advance unit of the Florida National Guard already is on duty in the convention city. ABC's Bill Zimmerman has a report on that.
If trouble comes during the Democratic Convention, troops of the Florida National Guard may well be called on to handle it. An advance team from the 124th Infantry Battalion already is preparing Miami Beach High School for the arrival Sunday of about 700 riot-trained troops. The school is barely a block from Convention Hall.
3 for sleeping in one of the command posts that you had.
Okay. I think the 3 for sleeping, probably by putting the support platoon upstairs, will be.
An additional 1,300 National Guard troops will be stationed in schools in and around the city of Miami to react to emergencies there. The troops here will be under the control of Miami Beach Police Chief Rocky Pomerantz. They'll be equipped with M16 rifles, unloaded at first, 12-gauge shotguns, nightsticks, and tear gas. They'll stay on the school grounds until they're needed. The Guard says they have been extensively trained in riot control techniques and can be moved quickly by helicopter. Bill Zimmerman, ABC News, Miami Beach.
Coming up in a moment, the news of Vietnam.
South Vietnamese forces battled to retake the city of Quang Tri today, but the state of their advance was uncertain. A Saigon government spokesman claimed that a paratrooper task force led by tanks had moved into the center of Quang Tri and controlled two-thirds of the city. But ABC's Jim Giggins, just returned from Hue from outside Quang Tri, says there's nothing larger than a few government reconnaissance teams in Quang Tri at present. Before leaving the area, Giggins reported thuswise.
Units of the 11th Airborne Ranger Battalion were the first troops to penetrate Quang Tri City's outer defenses. And now the entire Airborne Division hopes to consolidate its gains in Quang Tri Province with an impressive display of power. Though the 11th Airborne did have to fight well and hard every step of the way, surprisingly, North Vietnamese resistance to this onslaught has not been as determined as anticipated. Captain Gail Farrow is the American senior advisor with the unit.
They've been fighting pretty hard, but not really what I expected.
How far are we from the outer limits of Quang Tri right now, where we're standing?
The forward element that I'm with is about 4.5 kilometers out of Quang Tri.
So that would be a little over 2 miles then?
Right, about 2 miles, around 2.5 miles.
At this rate of progress, when do you think your troops will be into Quang Tri?
I would say tomorrow or the next day. We'll probably be there. Our forward elements, we will probably move in the third day behind them.
Whatever the reasons for the relatively swift government advance and the ambiguous North Vietnamese response, neither the Americans nor the South Vietnamese are taking any chances that it might be reversed. These obliterating B-52 strikes continue almost like clockwork, and low-flying observation helicopters and Cobra helicopter gunships keep a constant vigil for North Vietnamese troops and gun emplacements that could hinder the South Vietnamese advance. With each new liberated piece of territory, the refugees pour out. This is the first time these South Vietnamese have seen government troops in more than 2 months. During that time, they seldom even saw the sun, due to hiding in bunkers to protect themselves from the North Vietnamese and American airstrikes. Though many doubted they could, for all practical purposes, it appears that the South Vietnamese troops have made it, with much of Quang Tri once again part of South Vietnam. Jim Giggins, ABC News, 9 kilometers, or less than 5 miles, from Quang Tri City.
There were indications today the North Vietnamese may try to outflank government troops moving on Quang Tri by circling around and then launching a major offensive against Hue. Today, Communist forces seized Checkmate. That's an outpost 12 miles southwest of Hue that has changed hands twice in the past week. Communist determination to control Checkmate is seen as evidence that they hope to use the base to open an attack on Hue.
And that's all the time tunnel we have for today. Now back to the present with ABC News Now.